Don't go, it's the Muppets, right? I don't need to watch that. I know the Muppets. Don't assume it's done just because it's 56 years old, right? Please don't assume that, because I'm 56. I don't want to be done. The true test of any property, of any character, is how long will people stay interested?
Don't yuck our yum. How dare
Don't
you?
yuck it. Rats bastards.
Original geek, that's who I am. Rolling 20s with my squad, we got a plan. Marvel heroes on the wall, D&D dice in hand. Original geek, across the land. Level up, never gonna give it up.
Welcome to Original Geek. This is the All Fandom podcast where we dig into sci-fi, fantasy, comics, and every pop culture obsession that built the multiverse we live in today. So whether you're Gen X, Millennial, or just geek curious, welcome to the basement. Hi, I'm Steve Scarfo.
And I'm Jeff Shaw, and we'll be your rainbow connection for today's lovers, dreamers, and you. What's our topic today, Steve?
Well, you know what they say, Jeff, it ain't easy being green. This is about the Muppets.
Yes.
If you haven't caught on from the comment in the quotes, then buckle up because we're going. So this is a classic, right? I have all these prepared things that GPT helped me write, and and I don't even think I want to say them. I just want to say we grew up with the Muppets. The Muppets as they are were around before us, and we grew up with them in our lives between the Sesame Street characters and all this. So these were characters that were archetypes, but they were close to our hearts. Like, they were fun to watch. You never knew what you were going to get, but you always knew it was going to be crazy and chaotic. So we want to talk to you guys about the Muppets. And there's a very specific reason, because on February 4th,
Sure, we record this, so we're
Yes.
not commenting on the February 4th episode.
yeah, there's no spoilers. It's February 1st right now. So if somehow we got it right, it was complete luck. We'll talk about that in a little more depth later on, but we wanted to kind of bring the Muppets up and talk about them, and yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely, we would have started with Sesame Street. So Sesame Street, premiered when we were, before I was born. I think
The year I was born, it came out.
the year
in
you were born.
1969.
Yeah, so we grew up alongside Sesame Street. It was, Steve 69, me 70. So early days of Sesame Street, early our days, we grew up with Sesame Street. And
You could say we were teenagers when Kermit was a teenager.
yeah, exactly. Well, no, that actually is not true.
I was waiting.
So Kermit came about in 1955, but then he was a lizard, not a frog. So the Kermit wasn't a frog until the 60s. So kind of. Yeah. So, but hey, that's in our evolution.
Yeah, I tend to.
But yeah,
to
and then when the Muppet Show came out, and man, that was fantastic, because I just remember watching it with the whole family, because it was, Sesame Street was obviously for kids, but the Muppet Show was for the whole family. It had adult humor in it along with the kids, and people got it. And I wondered if it was still relevant, would still work today for a kid. And my nephew, Hunter, who's 6 years old, and if he's not 6 years old, sorry, Jess and Mike, we're getting your sons age wrong, who I believe is 6 years old, we were watching it. In preparation, I'm like, what? I'm going to play the first season while he's here. And he loved it, loved the Swedish Chef. He was entranced by the Muppet Show. And then I also asked my mom, who was here at that same time, because there were some of those guest hosts from that first season. I had no idea who they were. And like, who is Joel Grey and Connie Stevens, Juliet Prowse? I'm certain I did not know who they were when I was a kid.
You know who they are now.
I know who they are now, but like when I was like that's what I think. That's what I think. Like, they didn't get, like, their guest hosts were like making sure adults were watching this, like, because they weren't like children's celebrities. This wasn't like Lee Majors. I'm not saying that Lee Majors didn't do one, By the
that
way,
first
for those who
season.
don't know who Lee Majors is,
Yes.
$6
The
million
$6
man.
million man. And if you don't know what the $6 million man was, because that was this late 70s, early 80s show.
Okay.
We're just pulling back the gray on
Okay.
our geek, Gen X geekness.
All right. Yeah.
So,
Try to
so-
think of a
but
kid
you gotta
star.
remember
I couldn't
that-
think of a kid star.
Sabrina
Ronald
Carpenter.
McDonald. They couldn't get Ronald
They
McDonald.
couldn't get Ronald. No, let's hope not. He was always on that bench outside the restaurant. But you got to remember the first season of the show, right? It was all, and I'm sure you've looked this up because I have failed to, but I remember it always being on PBS, right? So not a lot of budget. Nope. See,
PBS was Sesame Street.
oh, sorry. Yes. Muppet Show was network, but it was still a first season. So I'm sure their budget for bringing people in was small. So they were going with those A-, B+ folks, I'm sure, or older. Because, I mean, let's face it, Joel Grey was great, but he was, I think, older in 69 or whatever the actual, that was Sesame Street when the Muppet Show started. It would be like saying we got, I can't even think of a good example. I was going to say Harrison Ford because he's old, but he's still too relevant. But somebody who was a star, John Cusack is a good name, right? He was a guy big in the 80s and 90s who may not have a lot of heat on him. He might be cheaper to pick up for a show today. You know what I mean? So that could be why they had those stars that were
Well, and they did get
adults know.
Florence Henderson. She was the mom from the Brady Bunch. So that's
right.
kind of that one hits. But then Charles Aznavour. I like, Mom, who's Charles Aznavour? And she didn't know.
Isn't he the guy that played the computer in chess? No, that's a different guy. That's what it sounds like.
He was a composer, and so, but to that point, they recorded in England because no studios just didn't get it, which I know we were touching a little bit about on the evolution, but we can just skip this part of the evolution. It was Jim Henson had a hard time. And what's ironic about it is Jim Henson, these characters, he didn't want them in Sesame Street because he didn't want Muppets being just for kids. And Sesame Street was just for kids. But because the philosophy of that show, wanting to reach out, having, showing diversity, encouraging kids to read and learn, like the mission of Sesame Street was so strong that we'll be a part of Sesame Street. But he didn't want his Muppets to be just for kids. So, and he hit that wall hard trying to get the Muppet Show sold. So it took Lord, oh my God, I always want to call him Lord Grey.
That's a Clue video game
I know
character that we play.
It's Lord Lou Grade.
I can see why you would say Lord Grey.
Yeah, so every time I heard it, like Lord Grey, he believed in it and put millions of dollars, but he did say the Muppets had to be filmed in England, and so that was part of the challenge too, is trying to get U.S. stars, which blows my mind. Like they said, like they couldn't get people there because they couldn't afford to pay them hardly anything to host. They'd be there for a week recording the Muppet Show and not making much money. But I'm like, but I got a trip to England. You're paying for if I had been an actor in the 70s, like, yes, I'll take a free trip to England and act with puppets.
Right, but
Muppets.
you got to remember in the 70s, because it was, I'm looking at it now, 76, the Muppet Show started. But in 76, the split between TV actors and movie actors was huge. We talked about it in previous podcasts, right? There were times when movie actors wouldn't touch TV because it would ruin their career.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So
That's
it
true.
could have been that there was a sort of a stigma. A, it's a TV show. B, it's a kid's show. Because even though
100%.
it wasn't,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sure there were people who were like, nah, it sounds fun, but I can't afford to downgrade myself to kids TV.
Yeah, it's
to-
hard to put ourselves back in those shoes.
Yeah.
Even though we talked about it like last episode.
but
It's true.
like
true.
every other TV show, because the Muppets went, 6 years to 81 for the original run.
Yeah. Yep. 81.
And so that's why in later seasons you start seeing bigger stars, because just like anything else, it's like, oh wait, that worked.
Yeah.
People are getting heat off
Yeah.
this. Holy crap! Now I want to do it. And
Yeah, they
that's
went
why
from struggling to having
Yeah.
a wait list.
And
And people must have just not gone on because Jim Henson stopped it at 5 seasons. Not because it wasn't successful, but he wanted to end on a high note. And which I think was amazing for him being from the US, because I know in England they do that. And I know you talked about that on a previous episode. Like the original Office was 3 seasons, then we're
3
done.
seasons, yeah.
And it wasn't because it wasn't successful. They just we did it. We're going on a high note. And so for Jim Henson to okay, I'm done. 5 seasons of this incredibly successful show.
Right.
So
Let's take a trip through time. It's a Geek flashback.
So as we were talking about, just putting ourselves, watching the Sesame Street, watching the Muppet Show with family, my flashback, a memory I have to this day, and I made sure to rewatch it, was when Steve Martin was in the 2nd season, because my family, we were huge Steve Martin fans, had the actual vinyl, played those vinyl records of his that he made, Wild and Crazy Guy, and had the balloon with the arrow through his head and all that. And I love that in the trailer for the new episode that's premiering on February 4th, the Kermit is walking down the hall with all the pictures of guest hosts, and he stops, and it's the Steve Martin guest host from the Muppet Show is the one you can see most clearly. And I think it's, that for me was, for my flashback, when I think of the Muppet Show, I always think of the Steve Martin episode, and specifically, and I rewatched this to see just why I remembered it so strongly, was he was juggling oranges, and he throws one to Fozzie, and Fozzie throws it back and misses, and Steve Martin goes to get the orange and actually steps on it and freaks out that he's killed the orange. And it's so ridiculous. And I don't know why I still remember it, because I was like, that bit's got to be just pure gold. I'm not saying it wasn't funny. It was funny, but I don't know why it stuck with me so much. Why that oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah,
But,
it's a time and place thing, right? Because you were younger, and at the time, Steve Martin's wacky antics were at the height of his career then, right? You didn't know him for what he can do today. I remember that same bit. I don't remember the stepping on the orange. I remember him coming out with the arrow through the head. So for me, the biggest flashback was always, I guess there's 2. I was going to talk about it later, but Fozzie, of course, as a stand-up, resonates with me. And I didn't get it at the time, but he was never supposed to be good. And you always rooted for him. But one of the things Henson wanted is he wanted characters who failed and never got better. Miss Piggy was never supposed to be a star. She always wanted to be a star, but the humor was in the attempt, right? Fozzie was never going to be an amazing stand-up comic, but he wanted to be a stand-up comic. And, even as a kid, because as a kid, I loved watching, probably not PC to stay now, but Bill Cosby was one of my favorites growing up. I think we've talked about it. I loved the whole Noah bit for Bill Cosby, but I watched and listened to stand-up from a very young age, long before I even thought about being a stand-up. So watching Fozzie always hit me, and I always felt so bad every time he would have a waka 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 moment. I'd be like, holy crap. But
but as a kid, I know what you mean, because we're rewatching this, and it's not like his jokes are so amazing, but as a kid, didn't you actually like his jokes? I did.
I did, because
they were good.
They were goofy, silly kid jokes, but he would never get a good response.
Yeah.
People were never laughing at him, but that was on purpose. And I didn't know that at the time. So you feel bad for him because we're laughing, and it's by design, right? Jim Henson was a very smart guy.
Well, yeah, because
he knew what he was doing.
And actually the Steve Martin episode plays on that. So the Steve Martin episode, Kermit comes out, and he's like, all right, we're not going to have the show today. Sorry, it was a mistake. We're doing auditions today. And so Steve Martin ends up auditioning, and Fozzie Bear's racked with anxiety that he's going to lose his being the stand-up comic for the Muppet Show with Steve Martin there. So
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's good. Oh, and your point about Miss Piggy, that's one thing that struck me rewatching season 1 is that Miss Piggy didn't look the same and didn't sound the same because she wasn't meant to be a primary character. Initially, she was just kind of in the background as one of the dancers, but there was a scene early on with one of the dancing scenes and her interactions with Kermit, and they decided to keep going from there. And Frank Oz was only one of the voices for Miss Piggy, and he hadn't landed on his real Miss Piggy voice that we know, but there was a second puppeteer who was playing Miss Piggy because like she wasn't, they didn't think it mattered, like because she was not
Such
supposed to be a primary character.
Well, you know, one of the things I did find in the limited amount of research I was able to do, they had many puppeteers who played multiple parts.
Yeah.
And so I can see, like, if Frank Oz is doing a scene between Kermit and Miss Piggy, how that would be really rough for one puppeteer to do both voices in this scene. Right?
Wait, what did you say? Who doing?
Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy?
Well, it's Jim Henson's Kermit, so. But
yes, but Jim Henson, you're saying he was not doing Miss Piggy. He hadn't landed on the voice, but
Frank Oz was Miss Piggy.
Oh, sorry. I totally zipped right over my head. I was thinking you said Jim Henson. So for the wrong reasons, but the right point, multiple people did the same, single people had to do multiple characters. So they had to split it out. And so obviously then it wouldn't have been Jim Henson and Frank Oz because,
it's interesting that you mentioned that too, because it seemed, Frank Oz eventually became well known as a director, and he kept providing the voices for like Miss Piggy, but he couldn't do the puppetry anymore. He just didn't have the time. And someone, one of our Gen X friends was hanging out yesterday. We're all excited about the Muppet Show, but she was bemoaning the fact that they didn't sound the same. And couldn't they have found someone who could imitate the voices better? And I realized, like, but they want the puppeteers to do the voices. Like they had Frank Oz continue doing it until he retired from doing it entirely. But you got to get someone who sounds like Kermit, who also is a good puppeteer. That's probably not going to be easy to do. So they probably, I guess, so the voices are going to be different, I anticipate, on February 4th. I mean, you can see in the trailer or hear in the trailer, but I think they're pretty good, pretty close.
I was just going to say, I did watch the trailer for the new show. I didn't realize they're doing a single show.
Yeah.
And that they're not sure if it's going to be, I thought when I heard about it initially, I thought, oh, they're bringing back the Muppet Show on Disney. Great. Because Disney has the power and the money to bring good stars. And they actually have Sabrina Carpenter is going to be on this one. And they're going to have Maya Rudolph. It's going to have a lot of great, Seth Rogen, for Christ's sake. So I thought, oh, awesome. But it's one episode. So watch it. Watch the one episode. So Disney goes, holy crap, we should do more of these. But now I forgot where I was heading.
Well, the voices, and you thought it sounded pretty good with the trailer.
I did watch the trailer, and I thought the voices were pretty good too. Admittedly, it's been a while since I've watched the episode. I know you watched some in prep for this. I hadn't gotten an opportunity to, but the voices I heard in that trailer sounded at least enough like the characters I remember. But let's remember this too. The kids who are watching, and not just the kids, I say kids, anybody under 40 at this point will qualify, but the people who are going to sit and watch the Muppet Show, most of them don't have a lot of experience with the 70s and 80s TV shows and movies. Like, they've seen them, but I think they sound enough like no one's going to go, it's not like Kermit goes, hey ho, Kermit the Frog. It's a pretty good Kermit that they'd got.
Right.
That wasn't my impression of Kermit, for the record.
But we got that. But hey, yeah, Disney's going to crush it. It's going to be great. But or will it? Maybe you should take me to court.
I'm taking you. Let's go.
The fandom is divided. It's time for Geek Court.
All right, well, let's set the stage. So, the Muppets, starting with the other show that we'll talk about during Evolution, and then the Sesame Street characters all the way through to today, had a pre and a post. And that pre and post, there's two of them. One was Jim Henson passed away in 1990. And then in 2004, Disney acquired the Muppets property. So they collaborated with a lot of stuff. But the question and the court for today is Disney's involvement a good thing? Has it made it better? Did it make it help them survive? Or did it really cut the edge off? Did it make it safer and bubble wrapped? So Jeff's going to take the position that this was a good thing that Disney got involved. So why don't you start?
All right. So, so Disney getting the property of the Muppets was something that Jim Henson wanted. And he felt like if he wants his Muppets to continue and past him, that who better to do that than Disney? They've got a proven track record of taking characters and making them last for all time. So first bit of evidence is Jim Henson wanted the Disney to own the Muppets. Now, he also, when it came to Disney, they did not, because the premise here is that they made it too corporate. They made it too safe. And my counterpoint to that is when the very first movie that Disney released was The Muppets Wizard of Oz, which most people have never watched, including myself. So you might think, oh, did they make it too squeaky clean? No, there was a Girls Gone Wild reference in that Wizard of Oz. And it was, and actually the issue was more that they were trying to push some boundaries. And like when you're going to see, oh, we're going to go see the Muppets Family, Girls Gone Wild. Dad, what's Girls Gone Wild? So they didn't make it. Now, I think maybe that helps, when later on they were trying to make some decisions as to like just how grown up the joke should be. But fast forward to the trailer that we saw for the show coming out from Disney with Sabrina Carpenter, and Kermit says we got to work out some kinks, and Sabrina Carpenter says I like a good kink. So they did not make it so squeaky clean that it doesn't keep to that to what Jim Henson wanted to do. So I think that it's not that Disney is perfectly handling the Muppets, but I would say that the idea that they're making them too safe and not working for adults as well as kids, I say that is wrong. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for making my point before I made my point. But so I can't deny that Disney's involvement with most stuff is positive, right? For all the stuff we've been talking about, they have big budgets, they have a full studio, they have control. The problem, I think, is in that transition time when they were not figuring out what the Muppets were, right? I did not know Henson wanted them to go to Disney, and it sounds actually odd to me because the things I have read about it is he liked the Muppets as basically they were a cast of fools, and they were fools on display for a purpose, right? The humor was in their failings. The humor was in their shortcomings, in their ignorance, and sometimes just in their ineptitude. If Gonzo got a stunt right, we would be surprised because he never got a stunt right. And I don't think they ruined that part of it, but I think what Disney does is they create, to your point, these legendary characters that last forever. But that's a narrow window to live in. To live in a character that people want to keep watching, but make it so that they keep failing so that they keep being interesting enough to watch. And so I think when they first started, I think you made part of my point. A Girls Gone Wild reference was probably them trying to figure out where is the line. The kink reference, a little more subtle, because yes, it's still got a sexual bent to it, of course, especially with Sabrina Carpenter. And, her persona is very much the kinky girl. She sexualizes herself a lot in her music and her advertisements. So for her to say it, it's obviously what they were pointing at. And by the way, the part you didn't say was that, and I assume it's the right cut, but at least in the ad, they do a cut to one of the little rats going, hey, like she goes, I like a little kink. And he goes, hello, or whatever. It's like, it's hysterical because this little tiny puppet pops up to say hi to her, which just kind of exacerbates the whole sexual overtone to it. But again, the Muppets was never meant for just kids. It was meant to be like, I think of it like Shrek, the original Shrek. We brought my nephew to go see Shrek when he was, I don't know, God, whenever Shrek came out 30 years ago, right?
Just say 6.
Yeah, 6 works. He was young, and it was funny because I think it was Thatcher, and it was a bunch of guys. It was like my brother, my brother-in-law, Jeff. I think Ryan Gartley came with us. Like, we all went to go see Shrek, and I laughed so hard because most of those jokes weren't for the kids, but they were subtler. Like the whole thing with him questioning Gingy, do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man, like them saying the lyrics to the song. Kids didn't understand that. I was crying. And I think that's where the Muppet Show used to be, right? It used to be.
And still is.
It's still, but I think they screwed it up a little bit. Now, are they redeeming themselves? We'll see. Hopefully this February 4th show is great. I'm going to watch it anyway because I love the Muppets and I love Disney, but I'm afraid that they are not going to hit this nail on the head. They have, they've done some bad, but like maybe they'll do some good. So hopefully it's not too safe. I think the Sabrina Carpenter clip gives me hope, but I'm afraid.
Well, and it's funny because I feel like things like the Muppets mockumentary series that in 2015, where it's supposed to be like The Office and Modern Family. I watched the first episode. I did not like it. It had a huge following, and that was geared towards adults. So I feel like, I'm not saying that Disney doesn't take missteps, but I think attributing it to the fact that they want it clean and polished and for kids is not the misstep they're making. They've made mistakes. I just take umbrage to the fact that they're trying to make it too safe, because
so that's not what I said.
Garbage.
That's not my argument. You're arguing someone else's point. I didn't say they were making it too
Geek
safe.
Court, did he save the Muppets or sand the edges off?
But what I just said wasn't the sanding the edges off. I said that they have made mistakes. I have said that they try to make it more Disney, and they're trying to get longevity out of these characters. But I said it's difficult space for them to live in. So
yeah, but they've made mistakes. Jim Henson's also made mistakes because he had he's had some fails. The Jim Henson Hour was not a success. Had a Muppet segment, so that was pre-Disney. It's not like they were all.
He was just pre-podcast. That's all he was. If that was a Jim Henson Hour as a podcast, it would have been freaking amazing. All right. Well, unfortunately, I think I have to give this one to you.
Ooh.
Because
wow.
I am afraid that, and I do think they've done some things wrong, but I do think ultimately Disney's probably a good thing, just because it's their best chance of staying on the air.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about some of the stuff they've done in their interactive realm, but we'll do that in another segment. Right now, it's time to go digging.
Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Look at that.
Something that my business treasure, another thing that Disney got right, releasing the full seasons of the Muppet Show on DVD back when we had DVDs.
DVD plays.
I don't have any place to play this, but man, I still got it. It has a felt. Ooh, like I've got Kermit in my hands. So
That's a little creepy.
I know. So, yes, I've got Kermit right there. So This season 1, The Muppet Show on DVDs, the full season, before we could widely get things on streaming legally. I understand like things have been available on the internet illegally for a long time, but it wasn't easy to get and view. So this was fantastic. So My Basement Treasure was, and what I do like about these box sets, which I do miss that we don't have as much in when it comes to streaming, is all like the bonus features where you get the original pilot is in here and lots of different like nuggets that you don't always get or can see in streaming.
Those were the
So I love
original
that.
blooper reels too. The original blooper reels lived on a DVD, or
Yeah.
a DVD or a Blu-ray extras segment. Those were always my favorites.
Yeah.
So I did
love
just look it up. All 5 seasons are available on Disney Plus. So you still have to pay for it, but if you have Disney Plus, you can watch all 5 seasons. So for me, I said it before, I don't actually have my treasure. I think I just got rid of it. So for like a decade, I had this t-shirt that was Animal. It was a black t-shirt with a very distressed gray print. It was a single flat color, but it was Animal just going to town on a drum set. It was one of my favorite shirts. It's the reason it's destroyed. It was a primary. If you guys might not have figured it out by now, I love my t-shirts, right? So it was a t-shirt I wore all the time out and did stuff with. And then it transitioned to an around the house t-shirt. And then at the end, it became just I sleep in this t-shirt, to the point where there were holes and rips and it was like Swiss cheese because I loved it that much. Animal was always, I talked about Fozzie, but Animal was always one of my favorite characters just because of the wild chaos that he was. Or is. I keep saying was. I talk about it in nostalgic past tense, but the fact is they all still are here. So that's my treasure. It was this t-shirt and this memory of, I think a testament to how much I loved the show growing up, that I had this shirt that I could not get rid of. I'm telling you, at the end, it was ripped down the sides. Like it should have been a rag a decade, maybe 5 years before, but I couldn't get rid of it. That's my treasure. So now, that's a quick treasure. It's one of our faster treasures because we have a lot to talk about because there's a lot of evolution here.
From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution.
All right. Yes. So I did a lot of research and discovered so much coming into this episode that I did not know. So like I said, like we first knew about these Muppets in Sesame Street. So I had no idea until doing research for this how long these Muppets had been around. And that in 1955, that's when Kermit made his appearance on a 5-minute local TV spot that they did only in Washington, D.C., called Sam and Friends. And Sam was a human puppet. It's actually wooden and traditional puppet. And Jim Henson had created Kermit from cutting, because he didn't have any budget. So he cut his mother's felt coat up and cut a ping pong ball in half and created this Muppet. And before that, puppets were very wooden, or they were marionettes. And so having the felt and having the flexibility, that was his invention. And having the little sticks that move the arms from below instead of marionette from above. So there were puppets that were just the mouth, or you had marionettes. And I thought about like back when we did the Rankin and Bass episode in the Animagic, and how using those felt figurines, puppets, really made things come alive. And Jim Henson did the same thing even before that. So yeah, I do wonder, like Rankin and Bass, like, oh, wait a second, like if they knew about what Jim Henson was doing, because he was the first to create a Muppet. And, Jim Henson has said it's a he didn't intend this, but people thought it was marionette and puppet combined because it had elements of both a marionette and a puppet. So
Was it technically isn't it marionette, the idea that it's being controlled from above? Like,
yeah,
so wouldn't the control from below still be considered a marionette? No? Is it only from above?
apparently not. Like apparently
Apparently,
this is so innovative. And the other thing that is
That's
apparently
cool.
innovative, because Jim Henson loved TV, was puppets were still being portrayed as if they were on a stage show, and having a TV, like a camera right there, and was not normal. And the other innovation he did was having a closed circuit TV below him that he could watch while he was doing the manipulations. Apparently, all the other puppets before that were being operated blindly, and this, he felt, gave them the most realistic way of creating their motions and being able to monitor what they were doing. So
That's
yeah,
crazy. I did not know that was his invention. I obviously knew he created Kermit, but I didn't realize that the whole structure of that kind of puppet, because I was thinking about, what's her name? God, she's an older comedian. She did Lamb Chop, and it was literally just a sock. Sherry
Yes.
Lewis,
yeah,
right? And she would just do the sock.
which did exist before, and that's what, yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
to your point, it was just the head. It was
Yeah.
literally just, and it
Yeah.
was just her. I don't know that there were a lot of them. So him adding the ability to whatever you want to call it, if it's not marionette, from below is pretty cool. That he created that, and then I knew he did the TV underneath. I didn't realize that was his thing too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how much he innovated that space. And I think about some of the things that I've seen in Jason Segel in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I don't know if anyone, it's a great comedic movie, but he wants to create a Dracula puppet show musical.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we don't get that comedic bit without the Muppets. And then I think it's funny, Jason Segel clearly loved the Muppets, because the Muppets, the movie that they made with Disney, which was fantastic, go and see it if you haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
Was also Jason Segel.
We
And
should
his
be
brother
sponsored
was a
by
Muppet.
Disney at this point.
I know. Well,
I'm going to
got
reach
my-
out to Disney Plus. So let them know that you watched our episode. And by the way, Jeff was actually showing a package of DVDs earlier. So you guys got to watch if you want to see it. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah, I guess I should have said that.
Yeah, that's okay. I usually will pick up, and I forgot about it.
But what I think is also interesting to the point you were making earlier about, this was not like, he did not want his creation, his Muppets, to be seen as for kids. So that 5-minute local show was created because they needed to fill 5 minutes between the news program and the Tonight Show. And so that was initially why Sam and Friends was created, and Kermit was just a lizard at that point. He wasn't a frog, because he didn't have his little collar and all that. But then he was so successful that he started to appear on the Ed Sullivan Show in the 60s, and they did a lot of advertising. He created commercials for this coffee brand called Wilkins Coffee. And to show you just how kind of more adult it was, there was two Muppets on there. One continuously, who didn't like Wilkins Coffee, was getting essentially murdered by the other one. Like, you don't like Wilkins Coffee, and like shot a cannon at him and blew him up. Or
It was that slapstick, though, of the Wile E. Coyote of the time, right?
Yeah.
The Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoons. And I'm sure it felt safe because it was puppets and not real people. That's cool. I didn't know that about the Wilkins Coffee.
yeah. So, and then the reason we got Kermit the Frog is because one thing that Jim Henson liked to do is make his characters dress up as other characters to do something. And so he made a special called the Frog Prince, where he had his lizard Kermit become a frog, and then that just stuck. And Kermit was Kermit the Frog after they created the Frog Prince. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And then we got Sesame Street, the Muppet Show, and the success that we've had, since then with the use of these Muppets, and that cast of characters just kept growing. Another thing I noticed in the first season of the Muppets is that, for those of you who know the Family Guy intro, where at the end of it, it's just a tiered dais of maybe 4 levels with the
Yeah.
characters. Well, the Muppets in the season 1, that's all it was. And then now we've got all those arches of Muppet after Muppet after Muppet, and it just kept growing, all the Muppets that they were creating.
Yeah, they've done an I mean, let's face it, I'm 57, which makes, or about to be 57. I'm 56 at the moment, I suppose. But that makes these 56-year-old and more characters. Kermit's older, but the Muppet Show itself, to have only been on TV for 5 years and had movies and had this kind of longevity. And let's be honest, it was off the air before I probably remembered it. 69, hold on, I had it, 76 to 81. So I would have been, 12 when the Muppet Show went off the air. And I kind of remember it as a kid, but I remember the movies and stuff. And then obviously it lived in reruns forever. But I think, to me, part of the evolution of these characters is what I was talking about before, is actually that makes them endearing, is that they have a lack of evolution. Those characters themselves don't evolve. Yes, the show's gotten better. It's gotten more technical, better stars, bigger stars, more stuff going on. Pigs in Space, still one of my favorite subplots that they did, which was just ludicrous and hysterical. I will say Sam the Eagle always freaked me out. There's something about his heavy brow that always, but these characters, they don't evolve. They are who they are, and they always will be. Kermit is always a stressed out stage manager, even in everything they do. They give him moments. Every character has a moment of redemption. You have to have something, right? Miss Piggy gets a moment in the spotlight where she does it right, and Fozzie lands a joke occasionally, and so does Gonzo not blow himself up. Go back. Sorry, just to go back with the puppeteering thing, I think it's even funnier because I noticed this as a kid, but the Swedish chef, he didn't actually have felt hands. They were real hands.
Yeah.
When the Swedish chef was doing his stuff, there was just someone's actual hands.
Yes.
Which I thought was hysterical. Like everything else was felt or on wires, but his were real hands.
Apparently, the cast loved that Swedish chef segment partially because of that. Because it's like there's for those who've done improv theater, there's a bit of improv where one actor has his hands behind his back, another actor is behind him and shoving his hands through, and the actor can't see what their hands are doing, and the other actor has to play along with whatever the hands do. And essentially that's what they did with the Swedish Chef. A lot of actually of the Muppets were improv. Frank Oz and Jim Henson were always playing off each other. And I think that's why sometimes some things didn't work when when it was maybe scripted by someone else, or it didn't feel like the Muppets. So those who might be saying, Disney doesn't quite feel right. I mean, it doesn't have Frank Oz and Jim Henson, so it feels different. But I do agree with you that these characters mostly are the same, or if anything, if they gain a little popularity, maybe they get another chance at something. But you made me think about, and I shouldn't have skipped this in the evolution, because before we had the Muppets, we had Saturday Night Live, Tales of Gorch, I think it was. I have to look it up. SNL.
Technically, we're still in evolution.
That's true. But I was like, oh, the Land of Gorch. So the Land of Gorch, so Jim Henson, like we've been saying, wanted his Muppets to be for adults as well, and not just for kids. So the Land of Gorch was purely, it's Saturday Night Live. They are aiming entirely at adults. And it did not work. It did not work on Saturday Night Live, because I think largely because Jim Henson did not get to do any of the writing because of the Writers Guild contract. The writers of SNL had to do the writing, and they hated writing for the Land of Gorch.
So
and
they made it bad.
The actors hated giving any screen because those actors, there's a show called Saturday Night, I think, that kind of recreates that first season That first episode, the pilot episode, it's great. Go and watch it. And then The Land of Gorch is featured in there, and Jim Henson as well. They hated giving any time because these actors were constantly losing out on their skit. They've worked all week on it, and it gets cut. And they're like, I'm getting cut for a fuppet, because they were like the effing Muppets. These Fuppets gotta get out of here.
I love that you won't swear. We can swear here. It's okay. I always mark us as explicit because I can't hold them back. Usually it's me.
Yeah. So Belushi was like, these fucking Muppets, get them out of here.
Yeah.
And so they hated them, and the writers hated them. And so I think it was a self-destructive relationship, or like they were on self-destruct.
But when you have a cast that's that talented, that doesn't put anything into it, it's destined to be a failure. Yeah, that's too bad. I didn't realize that they hated it.
The Land of Gorch. Yeah. So, so it was, I can't remember where we're going with this. Oh yeah. Cause I was going to talk about characters that get another shot.
Yeah.
That shrimp, the prawn, is Pepe, I think.
Oh,
Pepe.
yeah.
I'm like, where did that character come from? It came from the Wizard of Oz movie that they made with the Muppets. And Gonzo was always hanging out with Rizzo the Rat. And then flash forward to one of the newer Muppet events, which was Muppet Haunted Mansion, which is fantastic. Highly recommend it. Go and see Muppets Haunted Mansion. And instead of Rizzo, it's Pepe. And Pepe's a great character. So I think sometimes they have like these little characters that end up being big. And Miss Piggy was the same way. Like they don't evolve unless like they might increase in popularity, but they're true to whoever they were.
Yeah.
Because the Miss Piggy became popular, but she became popular because of that kind of egotistical, self-centered. Miss Piggy was there even when she was a minor character.
But yeah, and that's a perfect lampoon of a takedown of a haughty character, right? That's one of the favorite things people have in most movies. When someone who thinks they're above it all and better than everyone else fails miserably and gets put in their place. And that's Miss Piggy from day one. I was talking specifically about the characters of each, the arc of each character. There's no arc. It's flat, right? Miss Piggy is who she was in 1970, 69 and 70. But I do, there's so much. There's all the movies that they did. And so, the one with Jason Segel, one of my favorites, because I think because he's one of my favorite actors too. I think he's great. So I think he elevated it too. There was, I'm a big fan of Ricky Gervais. I know he plays a part in a couple of the Muppet movies too. So
yeah, Muppets Most Wanted.
And they, he's like the inside guy too. They don't catch on that he's the bad guy.
Both of those movies, like if you've seen a Muppet meme, the Kermit drinking tea, Kermit staring into the evil Kermit, like the hooded Kermit,
yes.
And then Walter, which is Jason Segel's human character's Muppet brother, which they don't explain why his brother's a Muppet, I don't think, has this panicked moment where he's running and there's the streaming like panic, and that's like wow, that like it gave us some good memes.
Those are from there, yeah. No, there's so much good Muppet content. I think it's clear then when we talk about this stuff, how much we enjoy these topics, right? I hope you guys are hearing it while we're talking about it, because we talk a lot about it, and I should have said this roughly 50 minutes ago, but like, subscribe, tell your friends. We'll tack this on to the beginning of the episode too. But this editing is a wonderful thing. So listen, join us for these conversations. We have a couple more segments, but I want to say, jump in, listen, have fun with us, comment, send us emails, tell us who your favorite Muppet is. Tell us who your least favorite Muppet is. But jump on and join the conversation with us. Because right now, oh, look at that. I dropped right into our message.
Your kids don't know how good you've got it.
Watch the Muppets. That's the message for all generations. Like I said, my 6-year-old nephew was watching that season 1 of the Muppets and was really enjoying it, really getting into it. They still work, and there's probably, if you're like me, Gen X, maybe you stopped watching at some point, thinking, I'm past the Muppets. Maybe you still love them for nostalgia's sake, but you never watched A Christmas Carol or Treasure Island or Haunted Mansion or the Muppets with Jason Segel or the one with Ricky Gervais, Muppets Most Wanted. All of those, watch them, and the one on February 4th, because as Steve said, it's one episode, and it's how many views that episode gets that determines whether we get a second one or third or fourth or so on. Give it a watch. If you don't like it, you can always post a review, and maybe that'll impact whether we get a second one. But don't just hate it because it's new. Don't just hate it because it's different, and it's not exactly what you saw in 1976. Like, watch it with kind of open eyes, an open heart, and an open mind. And let's get more of this Muppet content. Steve.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of jump to the side of that and not even don't hate on it, but don't ignore it, right? Don't go, it's the Muppets, right? I don't need to watch that. I know the Muppets. Like, give them the opportunity to show you something new, like, or in fact, not new, but tried and true, but still good. There's a reason why 56, 7 years later, we're here talking about the Muppets. They have longevity. People like them. Don't assume it's done just because it's 56 years old, right? Please don't assume that, because I'm 56. I don't want to be done. But also, don't ignore it, right? This is good stuff, ups and downs, ins and outs. The true test of any property, of any character, is how long will people stay interested. I want, like Jeff, to see more. I have the Disney, as most people have the bundle. I have the Disney bundle, so I get all the content. They have a lot of good content, but in this case, don't ignore the Muppets. It's 3 days from now, and hopefully we'll get something out before then, even if it's just a hey, go watch the Muppets clip. But yeah, that's it. Watch them. Don't ignore them. Don't hate on them. Here's the deal. Even if you do hate it, just don't say anything. Let the people who like it talk so we can get another one. And then just don't watch episode 2. But
don't yuck our yum.
Don't yuck it. Rats bastards. All right. But we're going to drop into our hits and fail.
It's critical hits and epic fails.
All right.
It's a hit.
This is going to be an interesting one, folks. So my critical hit is the Muppet Vision 3D ride at Disney. It is without a doubt, and geez, I don't go as often. Jeff and his wife go a lot. Jeff and Kristen go a lot more than we do, but I've been enough in the last couple decades or whenever it first started. It's the first time since I remember being there. So it's going to be more than 20 years that this ride has been at Disney. And it was one of my favorite experiences as an adult, and I could only imagine as a kid. That 4D thing they do so well. They have theaters across their parks. They do one at Animal Kingdom with the ants, with the Bugs Life.
Now it's Zootopia.
Oh, is it Zootopia? I'll have to go see it next time we go, because I did not know they changed that. But it's one of those experiences. It's immersive. So there's real puppets in this. There's things that happen behind you. There's things that, appear, like characters walk out in front of you. So it's not just a movie, and there wasn't just, it had that 4D, they did the smell-o-vision, and you get spritzed with water, and it was amazing. I don't even know if I have much more than that to say, but that's my hit. Of all the Muppet experiences, it felt the most nostalgic to me. I felt like a kid walking in this theater. It came out in 1974. I was 6 years old. Up to 11, and I felt like I was that kid walking into this theater going, holy crap, I'm going to see the Muppets. That's my head.
Absolutely. Muppet Vision was amazing. And that's why it leads into my epic fail, because that whole land, that Muppet land that Jim Henson, when he was first negotiating with Disney in the late 80s, he envisioned a Muppet land at what is now Hollywood Studios. It was at that time MGM Studios. And in in that vision was the Muppet Vision 4D, which Steve just described, and was amazing, but was also supposed to have the Great Muppet Movie Ride, which if you've ever done the Great Movie Ride that used to be at Hollywood Studios, like was a ride that took you through the movies, through history. And this would be the Muppet version, and things would go wrong though as you went through it. So Alien and Indiana Jones and all that they'd get it wrong. And it was a comedic, Muppets ride. They never did it. Jim Henson passed away in 1990 before he saw his vision of the Muppet, vision get fully realized, and the whole Muppet land really never grew to what it could have been. And that's the epic fail, because now that the Muppet Vision is gone, they've taken it away. They still have the Muppets at Hollywood Studios, but it's replacing Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster, which is fine. I do like updating things. Right next to the Rock and Roller Coaster is a theater what they put a villain show in, which is amazing. It's a great show. But the fail here is the Muppets deserve a land. And that villain show, move it someplace else, put where you've got the Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster now, put the Muppet Vision there, and then add, because now the Great Movie Ride's gone, add in the Great Muppet Movie Ride. And now you got a nice Muppet themed land that is deserved, because you spent $75 million on this property to get these characters. And now all you got is a roller coaster that if you don't keep your head back, you're going to walk out with a broken neck and whiplash. So like little kids can't go on it. They can't experience the Muppets at Disney this way. So my epic fail is not fully utilizing the Muppet property for a Muppet land at Disney. Huge, huge fail. And so as much as I'm looking forward to the new land that they're building for Monsters, Inc., I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Come on, Disney. I've given you love all this episode. Make this Muppet land a reality. You can do it.
I do think it's funny that they're removing the Muppets for Monsters, Inc. It's not like that's a new property either, right? Monsters, Inc. has been around for a long time. So I am bummed to hear that there's no more Muppet Vision 3D.
Yeah, it's gone. And what's bananas to me is there's a theater right beside that they put a villain show, which is an amazing show. But I mean, right there, you could have just rehabbed because the Muppet Vision was 1990. So it came out or 1991, wherever it came out, but it was a long time ago. And it's awesome. And I love nostalgia, and I keep watching it, even if it was the same thing all the time. Because it's a great show, but they could have even just changed it. This is the epic fail of epic fails. This could be an amazing land and legacy. And I don't understand why they're not doing it.
All right, Disney, smarten up. But listen, we got through another one. Thanks for coming with us. OriginalGeekPodcast.com. If you found us, you have heard us on one of your podcast episodes. If you're watching us or listening to us on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, let folks know, check us out on social media, and do all the stuff and heart our videos and follow us along. We're going to keep bringing you all the content we're bringing you. If you have ideas for content, let us know. If you have a conversation starter you want us to talk about, we can do that too. We love doing it, and make sure you keep joining us.
Yeah, and geez, in the words of the very first skit ever in the Muppet Show, "Mana mana, do 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 do, Manamana. Do 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 do. Manamana. Do 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 do.
That's who I am. Rolling 20s with my squad. We got a plan.
Mananananana. Na-na-na-na-na-na. Manamana. Manana. Manana. Manana.
Manama geek. Do 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 do.
Manama geek.
Do 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 do.
Manama geek.
Do 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 do.
Manama
Manama
geek.
geek.